Welcome, folks. This is Bob with BBD Geopolitics. I'm now giving up on domestic politics, moving to geopolitics, building up to the most consequential relationship that India has, that is the United States. Between now and the meet that's going to happen in Washington, the first physical meet of the Quad, there's going to be a lot of noise from a lot of old analysts and and especially pumped up and primed by Russia and China, and they're going to be focusing, and you're going to hear a lot of this. This is going to be America's trustworthiness. Oh, after Afghanistan, the debacle in Afghanistan shows that they're not trustworthy, right? The other is going to be hopping on non-aligned. Lastly, it's going to talk about independent foreign policy. Just remember, folks, we've never had an independent foreign policy. We keep pretending we had an independent foreign policy, but it never was independent. We were always USSR, Russia aligned. And let's not kind of hide that behind in a cupboard, right? That's the true fact. And Russia messed up our domestic politics, our intelligence, and was working through the Communist Party of India. So let's not just say we were non-aligned. We were always partially aligned. So let's just junk that, right? And talk about what we see is the benefits coming now from the United States. What are we seeing here? In post-Taliban world, will Quad rise, see BRICS fall? And let's just talk about BRICS. What is BRICS? It's been actually replaced by BRICS. So what is BRICS? BRICS is nothing but a controlling, economic controlling environment for the Chinese. I mean, what do we do with the Chinese? I mean, it's only about trade. There's no defense relationship, right? There's no technology flow between our nations, whether it's Russia, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Brazil. It's all about trade, and trade for everybody is a one-way street. That means China exports, we import. China exports, we import. Right? Even the banks that have been set up under the BRICS really have very little traction at all. I think this is a relationship that now needs to be trashed. Then what do we have? Modi to meet Biden in US amid Afghan crisis. That's important, right? PM to attend in-person Quad meet. Okay. As Afghanistan challenge grows, India and US double down in ties and coordination. It says geopolitical shift is bringing the two closer, which is just was bound to be, especially because of the cudgels that were picked up between India and China. And let me just tell, it is really funny. China seems to be the case of a tail that wags the dog. The tail is Pakistan, the dog is China. I have a feeling that Pakistan, just like it kind of hoodwinked the United States, is hoodwinking China, using that animosity of China against India to serve its own purpose. And I think it's going to lead China into a deep hole, right? And this is what's happening with the United States. India in elite club with missile tracking ship. India and US pact to jointly develop air launch drones. And this is the bigger one, that stuff, the visit of Kerry. Like, people have been defensive about it, that we should not give our goals. Fine, we shouldn't give our goals, but it's for ourselves, right? But just remember, Kerry launches climate action and finance mobilization dialogue in India will pave way for swift climate action with inclusive and resilient economic development. Now, this is the important part, and this is something that Pakistan should think about. This is a $3 trillion business opportunity that India is jumping in. And what is Pakistan concerned about? Kashmir. I think that their focus is so dim-witted, it's destroying their nation and their people. And a kind of valuations India's companies, one Indian company gets, Pakistan can't even dream of at this stage. I'm sorry for the Pakistani folks, and especially for the intelligence and Islamabad that also continues on this hate India bullshit. Right? We have our own, right, also. But unfortunately, at this point in time, Pakistan, just like China left India way behind, but India has the ability to catch up. Pakistan has been left in at the smell of the rubber in a racing track, right? And it's got no hope in hell at this stage to catch up, except trying to destroy India. And that's their only objective. Cheers to that. A lot of opportunities developing for India as we come up to the Quad meet, in-person Quad meet. So I'm going to talk about this over the next 10 days before the 24th. Now, what it means. But my next 5 minutes is going to be about our neighborhood a little bit, and then we'll go about and expand it to the other stuff. Cheers. So, folks, like I said, right, Pakistan is digging itself into a deeper hole. Its economy is going nowhere, right? China is like the dog being wagged by Pakistan's tail. It seems to also have found itself in a hole. And look at what this says, right? In a sense, I must tell the world, right, that China has essentially threatened the world and Pakistan by suggesting that if aid is not opened up to Taliban, or if the West and the United States are not soft on Taliban, there is going to be some major terrorist attack. That's nothing but a threat. And what that does is, you hear this, Chinese president praises PLA battalion posted in Tibet region. So he continues to ramp up his angst against India. CRPF recovers 6 Chinese hand grenades in JNK. Chinese hand grenades. So the linkage between China and the jihadis now, just like there was a linkage between China and all the separatists in the northeast of India, is very, very much now consolidating. The world must hold their feet to the fire for a terrorist attack globally, just like they should hold China absolutely responsible for the Wuhan crisis, right? But the world is beginning to think, and there's some small countries coming out in the open. Lithuania recalls envoy to China. Impressive. India keeps also ramping it up. I mean, I know we are suffering from our own internal problems, and a lot of people are going to get up and say, oh, but we got to look after it. But we got to keep doing this, I guess, parallelly. Eye on China. India is set to cement Africa defense. Africa is critical for India, and China may be there, right? But it's rapacious, and all the African nations and the people of Africa have figured that out, right? And this is the other one. India set scorching pace for military drills across the globe. Signal to China's via defense diplomacy. We got to keep doing this stuff. I know we got to ramp up our economy. I know we've got to, tune down our divisive politics internally. But you got to do these parallelly, folks. Cheers. More later. Folks, back again quickly. Like I said, nations pledge $1 billion in aid for Afghanistan as UN warns of collapse. West concerned about reports of reprisal killing by Taliban, not only and women are being flogged. What is important? This is going to choke the West. But however, what's important to note is only 31 million came from China. This mealy-mouthed guy, Wang Yi, has got. I mean, they really don't have a will to give any aid to anybody, folks. So both Afghanistan and Pakistan must understand, without the West, they're toast, right? And then you have this neighborhood watch, which is a long time away, but it's true. India's diplomatic skills are being tested in South Asia more severely than any time in recent past. India's neighborhood is in ferment. Expansionist China is everywhere, and America is withdrawing from Afghanistan, already withdrawn. The wider impact of these aside, domestic politics in Nepal, which just witnessed another change in government, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives present different challenges for India. And Pakistan, partly thanks to the Afghan situation, is even more of an uncertainty even now. And Pakistan has definitely dug itself in the US. It says US says will review ties with Pakistan over its double dealing. Blinken, Islamabad harbored Taliban Haqqanis during war on terror, which he did. And Taliban deny Bardar's dead, and he might be, because if you remember, there was a small note that the ISI chief had to rush to Afghanistan, and since then, and because there was the fisticuff between the Haqqanis and Bardar, but since then there is no picture of Bardar. Important. Blinken silent on possibility of using India to stage over the horizon operations, and here I must say India must offer this support, and it should extract its pound of flesh, which should be technology, equipment, how to operate this stuff is going to be really important, right? And it's a good messaging to, of course, China and Pakistan. But remember here, Pakistan is going to use all what it has in its tattered playbook, which is people like Lindsey Graham, the lobbyists in Pakistan, the Pakistani Americans, which are now going to be a target. But Pakistan should remember, it's lost the plot, because here everything else was okay, killing off American soldiers due to duplicitous behavior of Pakistan. But here, this is serious humiliation, and I don't think neither side of the aisle nor the people of America are going to forget and forgive the mealy-mouthed Pakistanis, and especially the elites sitting in Islamabad. I think have burnt their bridges in this one, right? But India must be ready. I want to give an option to Taranjeet Singh. He should. There are a lot of Indian youngsters doing international relations in all these big institutes like Johns Hopkins, etc., all across the United States. He should actually give them internship and let them loose to meet with all the congressmen and women in the United States. The Senate can be left to the top, which is the MEA, but the congressmen and women, which are people on the ground, should be approached by these interns. Cheers. Then you have US reviewing ties with Pakistan over its role in Afghanistan. You have the US must end its delusion on Pakistan. That is absolutely true. But this is something for India, right? Pakistan isn't the threat it thinks it is, says Ajay Sani, and he's right. The decline of terrorism in J&K was not the consequence of any dearth of willing manpower resources in Pakistan, but of very significant consolidation of Indian forces and declining popular support on the ground. It would be an unwise to dismiss all possibilities of escalation in the wake of Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan. It is equally unwise to exaggerate the potential to arrive at some of the panicked conclusions that are currently rife. And the other one, this is written by Lawrence Salim. It's democracies versus Beijing and Islamabad. Like I said, they are connected. Taliban has already announced that China will be its main financial backer. But seeing what's happening with CPEC, the fact that Pakistan is bankrupt, Sri Lanka is bankrupt, I think they should, and the kind of aid that's been promised by the West and China, I think the mullahs should give it a second thought. Quad nations of India, US, Japan, and Australia must provide the core of a multinational effort to strategically disrupt the plans of China-Pakistan axis, and they should, right? And they have the tools. Then you have forced foreign commercial flights since Taliban take over lands in Kabul, and see what it is. Pakistan International Airways. It's actually Pakistan Airways. It's hardly got any international that thing, but clap to Pakistan, right? And UN India offers support to Afghanistan but doesn't pledge money. This is really important. Seeks unimpeded access for humanitarian aid providers, and this is really important. Afghanistan on agenda. Jaishankar said to visit Tajikistan for SCO meet. Tajikistan is critical. It's the weak link for India to grab, right? New Delhi calls for enabling ecosystem to help out Afghans. India will stand by Afghans as it has in the past, says Jaishankar. People of Afghanistan should not be let down by India, folks. Cheers. So the first pin to fall, in a sense, for China was Maldives, right? Once Yameen got pastured out. But you have to be careful, right? Act against posts targeting Indian diplomats, said Malay told. And this is a Chinese and Sri Lankan combination trying to get themselves back in. Then you had an India, Maldives inks pact for largest infra project. It's funded by India, but India has to be very careful. Got to remember the kind of angst that the airport created in Malé, and that was because of this overbearing Bida Telugu bunch of people who were like yahoos there. I've been there and I saw that. Don't want that to happen. You've got to get a larger involvement of the Maldivian people. The other one that's going to have a problem is Sri Lanka. China expands its activities to Lanka's north. India is worried. Beijing trying to woo even ethnic Tamils, and that's an important point, right? But Forex crisis leads to Sri Lanka food emergency, and that's what's happening. Sri Lanka stares at economic crisis. Then you had a situation, doomed ship laden with harmful goods sinks of Sri Lankan deepening crisis. Sri Lanka declares food emergency due to Forex crisis. So China ain't coming to their help. And this is something that India has to be wary of. Probe into Lanka boat intercepted with drugs, rifles may suggest LTTE revival, Kerala TN officials wrote. But I think LTTE is an asset for India. I mean, whichever way you look at it, right? New Zealand attacker was radicalized by neighbors, his mother, and this is a Sri Lankan guy living in New Zealand. As China tightens grip, Lanka looks to boost India defense ties. Envoy focuses on joint military drills, counter terror, line of credit. Now they're running out of money. What do we do? Let's look at India, folks. Look at Bangladesh, folks. They are now apparently, I'm told, joining the RCEP. We can't stop. However, the biggest market continues to be the United States. United States should put the screws on Bangladesh to desist and devoid themselves from joining the RCEP. Otherwise, they lose their market. Right? And what do we have here? Myanmar. The United States and China have effectively brokered a deal that will block Myanmar's military junta from addressing the United Nations. You have fresh influx of Myanmar nationals into Mizoram amid clashes. Myanmar opposition calls for national uprising against the junta. Mizoram extends aid for Myanmar refugees to help in school admissions. Must watch Chinese inroads into Myanmar. Myanmar junta seeks global cooperation finally over COVID-19 crisis. They're not being able to end it. Next to India border, a camp to take on Myanmar junta. Now this is the important part. We have to play even Myanmar through the lenses of the people of Myanmar, because this is going to be a blowback because of what's happening in Mizoram. We have to get the United States on ball with that. They can't use a heavy hammer against the junta in Myanmar, but they can't be soft-gloved either, folks. Jai Hind.